The roar of motorcycles shattered the peaceful afternoon, a discordant growl against the soft rustling of pages in the town's tiny library. Evelyn Carter barely glanced up from the thick volume she was shelving. She had heard that sound before, many times. The Iron Fangs had rolled through Maplewood before, parking their menacing bikes right outside her sanctuary, the library. They had never come inside. Until today. The bell above the door jingled violently, announcing the arrival of trouble. The scent of leather, sweat, and gasoline replaced the familiar musty perfume of old books. 5 men, each more imposing than the last, stepped inside, their boots heavy against the polished wooden floor. The leader, a behemoth of a man with arms like tree trunks, smirked as he surveyed the room. His name was Axel, and Evelyn knew exactly who he was. Evelyn, a woman in her 60s, with graying hair neatly pinned into a bun and round glasses perched on her nose, turned slowly. She adjusted the sleeves of her beige cardigan and met Axel's gaze with an expression so neutral it was unnerving. Axel snorted. "Didn't think I'd ever set foot in a library." His gang chuckled. One of them, a wiry man with a snake tattoo wrapping around his neck, grabbed a book from the nearest shelf and flipped through the pages absent-mindedly. Another, a stocky brute with a scar slicing across his cheek, cracked his knuckles. Evelyn folded her hands in front of her. "And yet, here you are." Axel leaned against the counter. "We need a place to lay low for a bit. You're going to close early today." The library was empty, except for them. Evelyn glanced at the clock. It was only 3 p.m. "I don't believe that will be happening." The gang exchanged looks, caught off guard by her calm refusal. Axel chuckled, pushing off the counter. "Lady, maybe you don't get it. We're not asking." Evelyn sighed and walked to the front door, flipping the sign to "Closed." Then she turned back to face them. "Since you're here, perhaps I can interest you in a book. I assume none of you have had the pleasure of reading Dante's Inferno? It's about a journey through hell. Fitting, don't you think?" A tense silence filled the room. Snake Tattoo scoffed. "You got a death wish, lady?" Evelyn ignored him, stepping behind the desk. "You see, gentlemen, this library isn't just a place of books. It's a place of rules. And the first rule?" Respect. Her voice remained steady, but her eyes sharpened. "You are not the first men to step into this library thinking they can intimidate me. But let me be clear. You will not be the last to regret it." Axel frowned, shifting uncomfortably. "What are you even talking about?" Evelyn picked up a heavy book, The Art of War, and placed it deliberately on the counter. Sun Tzu once wrote, "Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak." Do you know what that means? Scarcheek sneered. "Yeah, it means you talk too much." Evelyn smiled. "It means underestimating your opponent is the first step toward failure." She lifted a small, unassuming remote from behind the desk and pressed a button. Instantly, the doors locked with a mechanical click and steel shutters began descending over the windows. The bikers tensed. "What the hell?" Axel growled. Evelyn adjusted her glasses. "The second rule? No one disturbs my books? And the third?" She tilted her head slightly. "Once you step into my library with bad intentions, you will leave with something to think about." The room was suddenly charged, the gang's bravado faltering as realization dawned. The walls had old security cameras embedded into them, red lights blinking. A subtle hum filled the air, the sound of an advanced security system that seemed entirely out of place in a humble small-town library. Evelyn stepped out from behind the counter, slow and deliberate. "Now, gentlemen, shall we have a lesson?"